Hello everyone. Welcome to Ajiro Tech. Ajiro Tech. In this video, we're going to be learning um, the IGCSE ICT People 1 Theory, October-November 2025. It's important to know that the duration for the whole paper is 1 hour 30 minutes. Okay? So welcome to our IGCSE ICT class 0417 /0983. Okay. Well, we have a tutoring program across IGCSE and E-level, whether it's EdXL or CIE, across all subjects, right? And we are verified. We registered educational platform in England, UK, and we're verified across all social media. So this is just giving you the boost that you need, that we are serious and we are intentional in making you succeed. Okay, so if you want to enroll, just send a message to the sales team, okay, and get yourself started. And yes, we do offer a combo plan. Yes, the ICT combo plan is a whole package. And if you've not gotten this combo plan before, I mean, those that have gotten it, they know. I'm not going to say much. The testimonies are for themselves. It speaks for itself, really. So if you want to get a copy of the combo plan, right, it includes support from me, right? So you get that support from me, and the price is also there as well. You can just send a message to the sales team, right? Whether you're student, whether you're teachers, especially for teachers, right? Okay. Also, we do now have ASIT combo plan. And yep, it has lesson slides, interactive Kahoot quizzes, topical questions, soft copy of the textbook, unlimited support for me. So you can also get yourself a copy of that as well, right? If you're an ES level teacher, IT, and we're working, we're building, right? So we'll get to the A2. So it's step by step, right? So we do have it. For now, there's a discounted price, so you can just message the sales team. And as of when this video is being recorded, so that you don't reach out and say, "Oh, you heard about the discounted price," just for a few weeks, and then we're back to it. Okay, so you can send a message to the sales team. Okay, so let's get to work. So I have this. They said circle. Can I zoom in? I think I can zoom in for a moment. I think I can do that. Okay. Circle two examples of internal memories. So this is chapter one, right? Which is your types and component. Types and components of what? Computer systems. Because of time, I'll not be writing all. I'll just put chapter one, chapter two, and talk about it. So circle two example of internal memory. So what are internal memories? It's important for us to understand the concept before we even proceed to say, okay, what each of them mean. So when we talk about internal memories, right? Um, these are memories that are embedded, right? And these are primary memories. That's one way to look at it. Primary memories, and we have two types. So when we look at the actuators are not internal memories. CD-ROM, on the other hand, actuators are output. CD-ROM are optical, they are storage, so it's not. Hard drive is magnetic storage, so it's not. Mouse is an input right? Their input pointer device. Pen drive is a storage device, solid state. RAM is internal, so I'm going to circle this. ROM is also internal. I'm going to circle this. SD is storage, which is type of a memory card, so it's not. So this is how you do it. So when you talk about the RAM, it is seen as what? Random what? Access memory. If you've been here, you know I'm going to teach you, right? I'm going to teach you, so you know that. So when we look at the RAM, which is the random access memory, right? This is where data is what temporarily stored. Okay, when running application. Also, for another key point, if you want to look for another point, you can say that what it can be written to and what read from. You can say what it is a what volatile memory. Why is it a volatile memory? Because what the content are lost when power to the computer is turned off. We have read-only memory, which is ROM. So if you have to put it in context, used to store information that needs to be what? To be permanent in nature. You can also say that it contains the configuration data from what? It contains, let me clean it, contains the configuration data for a computer system. Okay, so we now have an idea. You can also add this. It cannot be altered and can only be read from. So this is what they are for the internal memory, the random access memory. They're temporary, they're volatile, and then the RAM, the read-only memory, which is the ROM, they store information that needs to be permanent. Okay, they are both internal memories, so take note of that. Okay, let's look at question 2. Data can be in the form of analog and digital. Complete the following sentence. Before we even proceed, let's talk about analog and let's talk about digital. When we talk about analog, let me just move it a bit. Perfect. When we talk about analog, right? Analog data. So it's important for you to understand that analog data are what? Are physical data. They are physical data. They are physical data that changes continuously. From what? From one value to the next. When we talk about digital, on the other hand, they are discrete data. Some will say they are discontinuous data. So this is where computer understands the computer understands the data in what? In binary format. Complete the following sentences about the different types of data. So we have the following data is read by a sensor. Which one will it be? Now, I'm going to give you an example here. So you probably give me the answer yourself. So we have sensor. We have the ADC, which is what? The ADC means analog to digital what? Converter. We have what? Microprocessor, right? We have what? DAC. What's DAC? DAC means what? Digital to what? Analog converter. And then you have what? Actuator. For the AS, you see it as what? Motor. So for those coming to AS, if this is also there, it's in the chapter. You see it when we are talking about the is sensors are also part of it, right? So take note of that. Okay. So we have that. So actuators or motor. When we are looking at the greenhouse, right? So we have that. So now this sensor, what sensor does is an input device. So sensor reads the environment. It reads the environment and sends the data to the microprocessor. Now, for it to send to the microprocessor or your computer, it cannot physically do that. So they need to be a kind of a converter, right? Now that converter is an analog to digital because what the computer understands is what? Is discrete. That's what the computer understands. The computer understands what? Discrete, binary, zeros or one. I'm still breaking it down, whichever I want to understand, zeros or one. So the computer will need to now, this is what the computer understands, because this is what the computer understands, right? So they need to be a converter that converts this from what the analog to what to digital what converter. So this now converts it to what to this. So the computer will now have The computer have what we call a preset value. What's the function of a preset value? Let me explain it for this. I'm an A-level teacher, but let me break it down for you for IGCSE, right? The preset value simply means that there is a set value that if this value is this, it should perform this. If this value is this, it should perform this. If this value is this, it should perform this. So a preset value simply means that, so if the value, for example, is 50, right? So if it's less than 50, perform this. If it's greater than 50, perform this. If it's the same, do nothing. That's a literally explanation of preset value. So it's not going to compare with this preset value and then send the corresponding interpretation to the actuator. But remember, for us to be, or for the machine, because this is a machine, a physical machine, to understand if it's going to perform that action, there need to be a converter that would convert what the computer is saying to what the machine can understand. Because a physical machine, it either open or close, um, open the verb, close the verb, open the verb, close the verb, or show yes or no, green or yellow, or or orange or red, whichever thing, right? There need to be a converter that will now convert it to what the machine can what this physical machine can understand, and then that is done. Okay. So now look at this. So let's look at this, right? The data read by sensor is what? With this explanation, can you tell me? So just let me know in the comment section, right? Data read by sensor. So what reads the sensor that is able to now take that information, right, to this? It is read by what? Exactly. And for microprocessor, what is read by the microprocessor? Good. So that's how you see it, right? So it is read by what? The analog. Data read by microprocessor is what? Good. Is digital, because you have this. This is what the computer can understand. So remember, it's a converter. It is converting from what? Digital to analog. It's converting from what? Analog to what? To digital. So what? Digital. This is how you have your answer. Is this clear? Okay. So now we've been able to answer this. So let's proceed. They said construct analog data with digital data. So if you look at the word construct, the word construct talks about what? The differences. Okay. When they tell you compare and construct, compare on its own talks about what? Similarities. So these are command words, very important. So let's talk about the differences. So for, let me start with digital. So for digital data, we can say this what? It is discrete data. Discrete data, and then I'll just put here for analog. Why analog is what? Is what? Continuous what? Data. Now, for discrete data, we can say what? It is binary data. Why is it binary data? Because it only understands what? Zeros and one. You can say this is what? Physical data. Okay. So it contains what? Physical data or what? All right. Or physical data, or it contains what? Infinite number of what? Of values. If you're looking at digital data, you can say it is understood by the computer. And I've explained why it is understood by the computer, because it understands what? Zeros are what? One. For analog, because it is physical, it has to measure the environment, right? And a good example is your sensor, right? It requires what? It requires high what? High bandwidth. Okay. Unlike what? The digital what? Data. So this is how you can be able to answer such a question. Okay, let's look at the next one. A head teacher had decided that all pupil reports are to be typed into a computer. Okay. He has asked the computer technician to design a layout for a pupil report. So a computer technician is going to do that. So describe 5 features of a well-designed report layout. So this is chapter 7. And this is under the what? The design phase. Okay. Under what? System lifecycle. So I'm just being specific for your reading. This, on the other hand, is what? Still chapter 1. Of course, you should know that. Chapter 1. Okay. All right. So let's look at this. So what are the features of a well-designed report layout? Remember, it is being typed into a computer. So now they want to see their report. It is more or less what we know we have the screen report layout and we have the physical layout, right? So what are those informations that is there? Okay, so let's talk about that. The first thing in a report. Now, the report can be like this. Fair warning, I don't know how to draw. Maybe with the student's picture, then with the school heading, with the name of the pupil, with a class, maybe position or something, and then you have the subject. You have teachers' remark, right, and all that. Okay, and then you also have the logo of the school, right? So with this information here, how do we answer this? So with this information we presented with us, we can see that the features here are what? Heading. There should be headings, right? Of course, the heading must relate to what? The report. If you're going to use the font style, I will recommend the font style that is what? Easy to read. Right? If you're going to use a font size, so these are the things you have to look at. The font size should be what? Large enough. to be what? Easily read. If you want to talk about the color, because again, the report, so it might be printed with colors, right? So you want to look at constructing colors. Very important. Constructing colors to what? To make it what? Easily read. And finally, very important, all data must be what? Fully, not partially, must be fully what? Visible. So with this, you can now have an idea on the subject, something like this, right? So this gives you an idea of what you need to do. Okay, hope this is clear. All right. All right. The next one, let me submit this in. The next one, the report will be linked to a database. One of the fields in database is the date of birth. So if you look at it, we did talk about it. The class, the position. Of course, date of birth is very important. DOB, very important. Okay, is the date of birth. An example of data found in this field is what? Is this. So this is the date of birth. So this is what? DD, MM, Y. State two validation checks that should be used to validate the data in this field. This is also chapter 7, right? Design, S, system lifecycle. So let's talk about those checks that we can use. Now we have various types of checks. Now looking at this, you're having DD, MM, YY. So the first validation check is what? Is going to be what? The format check. So what's the format check? It ensures that the data entered is of the what? Of the correct what? Format. Then another type is exactly the type check. The type check. So what's the type check? It ensures that the data entered is of the same what type. So we have a type or what type check or what or character check. Is of the same character. Say example of data found in this field is what? One of the field in this database is date of birth. Example. Okay, so we have format and type. So that's literally the only two that can work here, right? They didn't give us a range, so we can't use range, right? If you want to put presence, because date of birth is something you have to put, present check, it must not be left empty, so that's fine. Hope this is clear. One way of testing data in this field is to use what? Different types of test data. The first piece of test data use is acceptable data. Okay, state which type of data is acceptable. Now, this is chapter 7. right? Now you see this under what? D&T. Okay, D&T is not design and technology. It is development and testing. Please, right? It's development and testing. When the software is developed, it needs to be tested. So this is part of what? The system life cycle. And we have three types of what? Test data. This is also for IGCSE and for the AS student. So we have what? We have normal, we have abnormal, we have extreme. What's normal data? Normal data is the data that is what? That is within the boundary of what? Acceptability. Within the boundary of what? Acceptability. So the data is accepted. Why abnormal is the data outside the boundary of what? Acceptability, and should cause what? Should cause an error. Should cause an error and should be what? Rejected. Why extreme, right? Is the data at the boundary, take note, of what? Of acceptability. So you can use acceptability or what? Or validity. Take note. And it has two end values, which is what? The first or what? Last. The first or what? Last. Okay. So we understand that. So which type of test data is what? Is acceptable. That is what? The normal data or the normal test data. So I hope with this you have been able to understand. Okay, so let's move on.
A lot, and you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Agile Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the EdExcel and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have um, you know the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition, um, I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at agiletech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about, and the fee is really quite affordable. Really, it's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable, and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E levels as well, um, and also for the EdExcel. So we have for the Cambridge E levels and EdExcel E levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E level, mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time. Even physics, for E level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for um, a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at agile@gmail.com, and they will reply to you.
A design company is planning to buy either a laser printer or a plotter. Compare and construct a laser printer with a plotter. Now you see this in chapter 2. So what's the chapter 2? Input, DDE, output. I know it's input and output device. That's the topic, but DD is part of it. So compare. So to look at the comparison, this simply means similarities. This means differences. So let's talk about the similarities. Let's start with something similar, right? So for the similarities, what do we have? Now, what do you notice when it comes to printer generally? I talked about input, DD, output. Printers, are they input? Are they DD or are they output? Let me know in the comment section quickly. You have 5 seconds. Are they input? Are they DD? Are they output? Thank you. If you said output, you are correct. So both are what? Output devices. So this will be the first thing that comes to your mind first. You don't have to think too much. Let me increase this to 4. You don't have to think too much, right? So both of them are what? Output devices. Now, when it comes to laser printer and plotter, you know that plotter prints, right, um, on large papers, and laser printer prints on the print high volume qualities, right? So one thing is similar. Both of them prints in high quality. Both of them print in what? High quality. So both produce or print high what? Quality what? Output. What else? Now, is a printer. We have soft copy, we have hard copy. Both of them, do they give you hard copy? Yes. The big banners you see outside is done by a plotter. The high volume printing you see in your exams is done by laser printer. So both of them produce or print hard copies. So both produce hard copy. Now it's time for differences. What's the plotter? So let's start with the laser. So laser printers are what? They produce in what? In A4 papers, right? They produce in what? In A4 papers. So we can see them as their what? Page printers. What else? Now in chapter 5, under the health safety, right? Um, when we talk about those eye strain, back and neck strain, RSI, prolonged use of using IT equipment, right? Okay, you see that in the end of chapter 5, right? You would notice that there's something called ozone irritation. If you read it, now read it. I want you to read it. You would notice when you're reading it that it causes dry skin. What printer does it? Let me know in the comment section. Tell me, what printer does it? See, we're going to learn together. What printer does it? Good, your laser printer, right? So the laser printer emits what? Ozone irritation, which which is not safe to the health. Okay? This is the only channel that does theory to the maximum. There's no other channel that does it. This is the only China knowledge. Because simply means you have to read the textbook. So let's look at the next one. So we cannot talk about plotters. Let's talk about plotters. Plotters can produce, which laser printer cannot, a higher quality drawing. And what else again? Now, between both of them, you would notice that plotters uses what? Ink. Whereas laser printer uses what? Toner. Plotter, I think I'll stop with this one. Can print, which is very key, on a number of what? Different materials, which is what laser printer cannot. Okay. So I've been able to differentiate them and explain them for you. All right. Let's look at the next one. Instructions are entered into a computer and processed to produce an output. So we are seeing what? Input. Okay. We are seeing what? Processing. We are seeing what? Output. Why are we the best in theory videos? Because we explain the concept in IGCSE in ES. We explain the concept. And this is what you get when you dive into our private classes. A lot of students the result came out in October, November. 68 students enrolled. 65 had A star to A. Do the math. How many percentage is that? Do the math for yourself. The remaining three, one had a B, two had a B. Okay, one had a B, two had a C. I mean, that's good. So it's a guaranteed pass rate. And if you have not enrolled, the only thing I can say is that you are missing. That's one, right? And don't procrastinate, because a lot of students who have enrolled into our program, 50% of them procrastinated to the end and they started rushing. Don't do that. Start early. We have a student right now who started November and is writing May June. One started December and is writing May June. And you are waiting. It's still far. No. Especially when you know you are struggling. Start early so we can go through the concept with you one by one. Explain the role of the CPU in processing what? Instruction. Because of time, I may not have time to be explaining all these things in depth, right? That's what our private classes are for, but I'll do my best. So we have the CPU, right? So we have the CPU. Let's look at this. We have the CPU. Now, in the CPU, there are things you need to also understand. The CPU has what we call the ALU, has the CU, and have what we call a small memory location called what? The registers. Many students don't know this. The CPU means central processing unit, if you're wondering. Central what? Processing what? Unit. Right? The ALU means arithmetic and logic unit. The CU means control unit. So let me just quickly explain what each of them does. Now, what does the ALU does? The ALU carries out, which is the arithmetic and logic unit, right? Carries out calculations, right? And makes logical what? Decision. Can I go further? If you copy a file for, let's say you're using a MacBook, you copy a file from one folder or directory, and then you want to paste it in another location, and a copy of that file is there. What does it tell you? It tells you that that file is there, right? And it gives you a prompt. Do you want to replace or cancel? What do you think is doing that? The ALU. Thank you. You can see it's practical, and I've just made it simple for you. What about the CU? The CU is what? It's your control unit. What does it do? From the word controls, it, it controls what? The input and output devices. You plug something to your laptop, it gives you a prompt. Something has been detected. What do you think is doing that? Your CU. Simple. These things are very, in our private classes, we break things down. We don't, see, one of the things I'm very careful is I want my students to pass and pass well. No stress. Just break it down for you in IGCSE and A level, and then you go your way. You go your way, you pass, and you are smiling. I've talked about the registers. They are what? That they are small memory location. So now, this is what the parts of the CPU does. Now, if you now look at what CPU does on its own, you will see that the CPU interprets. There are two things they do. They interpret and what? Execute commands from computer what? Hardware and software. We can also see it as it's part of the motherboard. If you're looking at internal hardwares, they are part of what? It's part of internal hardwares. So with all these explanations now, they now ask you, explain the role of the CPU in processing the instruction. We know that CPU is now referred to as what? Microprocessors. Thank you. So they are single integrated circuits, and it's part of the heart of what? Most PC. So with this explanation, they now ask you, explain the role. So everything has been explained. So you now explain the role. So you now pick each of them and be explaining, because they are all part of what? Of the CPU. With this frame alone, you have gotten your mark. So for context, you can say what? It manages and coordinates all of what? The computer peripherals. You can see that it fetches instruction from what? Memory. You can see that what? It interprets. It interprets what? Instructions from memory. You can see that it what? It performs logic what? Operations. You can see it what? It performs what? It performs calculation. If you want to add the control, it controls what? It controls the operation of the computer. Anything that controls input and output, it controls everything now, right? Operations of the computer. Can you see the way I've explained it now? Problem solved. I mean, we make it easy. That is why you cannot find any theory YouTube channel. The ones you find I just want to, because nobody explains it. The, the reason why we decided to go into the theory was the fact that students said, Mr. Ajiro, we beg you in the name of Allah, please help us. I didn't want to do this. So students said, sir, please, the February March exam is around the corner. Help us. We are frightened. Let it make sense to us. I said, mashallah, I will do my best. So yeah, I am trying to explain the concept. Are we enjoying the class? Are we enjoying it? Hmm? Are we enjoying the class? Let me know in the comment section because I need to know that you're feeling the vibe. Are you feeling this vibe? Okay. Are you feeling this vibe? You feeling it, right? Okay. 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 It's like you come in my class and not have fun, really. And I mean, you're just in the class. It's just, I hate boring classes. Okay. So we have this question 6A. Let's try to make sense of this. A school is planning to create a computer suite in its library. Okay. Head teacher is considering using a desktop computers or mobile computers. Now, this is chapter 1. Remember, right? Chapter 1. Under chapter 1, you're looking at types of computer. We have two types of computer, desktop and mobile. Now, under mobile, we have 4. Uh-huh. We have 4. We have your laptop, phablet, smartphone, tablet. So if you notice, I'm currently using my tablet, my iPad to do this. Discuss the benefits and drawback of the head teacher choosing desktop computer. Now, when you have questions like this, you have to now relate it to the scenario. Most students don't even relate it at all. If you're giving somebody an advice, an iPhone 17, or I was using an iPhone 13, and then there was a choice to make an upgrade. I said, okay, I want to upgrade it to iPhone 17. And it was like, okay, if I'm going to, I didn't really like that because it was right. I wanted to upgrade to a Pro Max or a Pro version. I'm always using the base. I've been using iPhone. I think I moved from iPhone X to iPhone 12 to iPhone 13. So I wanted to move to iPhone 17, just the base model. I'm just used to just without any Pro or Pro Max. So my tech advisor said, okay, it's time to just switch to a Pro or Pro Max instead of just using the base model, right? I said, okay, fine. So I switched from the iPhone 13 to the iPhone 16 Pro, right? With a plan to switch to the iPhone because I've already is it to the plan to switch to what to the iPhone 18 Pro. So I'm now on the Pro level. I've left the normal level to the Pro level. I still don't like Pro Max. I don't know, right? So that is somebody giving me an advice between various, and it's telling me, okay, this is why, this is why, this is why, this is why, this is why. Somebody might just say, okay, difference between Galaxy, a Samsung, and an iPhone, or an Android and an iPhone. What's the benefit? What's the drawback? The reasons why I'm always glued with iPhone is because of my ecosystem. I use an iPad, I use a MacBook, so it's an ecosystem for me. So it's easier to just drag and drop when I'm working here and there. So it's easy. Now that's somebody giving me benefit, and then okay, you look at cost and everything. But again, we are given a scenario when we have to talk about the benefits and drawbacks of the head teacher choosing desktop computer. So she wants to choose the desktop. So let's tell her the benefits and drawbacks. Let's make it personal. Let's tell her the benefits and drawbacks. So let's talk about the benefits first. I always start with the good things before the bad things, right? It's always good to start with the good. Okay. Okay, so all right. So let's say no, sir. I prefer the bad things first. Okay. Okay, so we have this, right? So let's talk about the benefits first. Now, when it comes to the desktop computers, now remember they are separate units. You have the monitor, you have the keyboard, you have the mouse, you have the system unit all separated, the speakers separated, right? So because of that, it is easy to expand. That's one benefit. So we can say what? It is what? Easily expandable. Okay. And its desktop is stand is placed in one location. Because of that, what do you have? You have what? A stable what? Internet access. You know, it's a desktop computer. People, I mean, have you seen somebody stole a desktop computer before? Like, please catch him. Oh, this person is stealing a desktop computer. I mean, my problem is not to catch the person. My problem is when he's caught, I'll ask him, what's the notion of stealing it? Like, how do you steal a desktop computer? How do you steal? Right? So it's less likely to be stolen. It's less likely to be damaged. Why? Because it's in one location. Okay. Are we together? So less likely to be what? To be damaged as they are what? Fixed in one location. Because it's desktop, right? You have the standalone system in it that is when it's connected to the power, unlike your laptop, right? Or your mobile computers, where everything is just fixed together. But because the units are well spaced, okay, you have what? A better dissipation of what? Of heat. Less chance of what? Of the desktop being stolen. I talked about this. Let me just write it. as what? As the peripherals. What are peripherals? They are external attachments. So take note. As peripherals are separate. So the person will be holding monitor, holding keyboard, hold maybe tie the mouse in his neck, right? And then I don't know how he's going to hold the system in it, and he's running, all because you want to steal desktop computer. Man, that deserves some flogging, right? Okay, some flogging, real flogging, because of all the things you want to steal is a desktop computer. I mean, it doesn't really make sense, right? He needs to be prayed for. Let's talk about the drawbacks. Are we having a good time? Let's talk about the drawbacks. Okay, let's talk about the drawbacks. Okay, let's talk about the drawbacks. Right? The reality is that the drawbacks is less portable. We want to use something on the move. And if the head teacher, right, wants to create a computer suite in the library, she should know that those desktop computers cannot be moved easily. Okay? So it is less portable. And you give why as they are what? They are built up of what? Separate what? Parts. It can lead to a tripping hazard. Can lead to what? To tripping hazard. Chapter 8, under physical safety. As they are what? They are trailing wires around the library. And it needs, on that drawback, it needs to be constantly connected to what? Electricity to use. So if there's no power, they can't use it. So I've just explained this so you can now understand how it works. All right, let's look at the next one. The head teacher is planning to use the computer for computer aided learning. Explain what is meant by computer aided learning. So computer aided learning, you see it in chapter 6, right? When we talk about ICT in education. Now you see that for computer aided learning, students are able to learn at their own pace. Okay, so it is a special software. Okay, it's an assistant software that assists students in learning generally. Students can be able to learn at their own pace. Although disadvantage that there are certain um, demonstrations that cannot be applied in, like the students feel isolated. For example, a practical, for example, right? If they're watching how the practical is being done, they are not doing it, right? A chemistry practical, they are not doing it. So it feels isolated because again, there's no way to communicate back. Okay, so it assists in a particular subject, right? So let's see how we can put this into perspective. With all I've said, let's see how we can explain this. It's the first you need to understand that the computer aided learning, CAL, is a what? Is an integrative technology. It's integrated to help students. CAL uses what? Specially what? Design softwares. CAL assists pupils in learning a particular what? Subject. Any particular subject. Okay. So are we good with this? All right.
A lot, and you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Agile Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the EdExcel and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have um, you know the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition, um, I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at agiletech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about, and the fee is really quite affordable. Really, it's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across um, other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable, and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E levels as well, um, and also for the EdExcel. So we have for the Cambridge E levels and EdExcel E levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E level, mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time. Even physics, for E level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at agile@gmail.com, and they will reply to you.
Describe three features of CAL. What are the features of CAL? So since it is software that assists users in learning any particular subject, it's a software. So let's talk about the features. It's just like Kahoot, right? Like a quizzes, but it's specially designed for that particular subject or for a particular subject or for a particular area, right? That they can now learn on that thing. Okay, so and many, I think the OSSD is cow because it's designed that way. Okay, not really cow, but kind of like the idea I'm trying to put, right? So let's talk about the features. So it can test the users, give score or grade to the user or student, whichever one. It allows interactive learning. Very important. Allows, which is not what you get in your physical classroom, allow users to be able to work at their own pace. So which is very good. So students can now work at their own pace. One of the things that made me leave the physical classroom, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to be on my own, was the fact that a lot of students told me, Mr. Joe, see, I prefer you better online. I prefer you better online because in the physical classroom, you're always stressed. You're jumping from here, but when you're relaxed and everything is cool, we get the very vibe of you. We get a vibe of you. So I prefer you online. I prefer you virtual. I prefer you on a more relaxed note where you're looking calm and everything, and then you don't have to jump from here to here. I'm like, oh, really? So you prefer me on YouTube? Instead of me, I like you on YouTube better because now why is it's not like I'm not teaching better in the physical, but because the child is able to now come and go through it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And when they catch me up later in the evening, when a more relaxed mind, they get a good vibe because now I'm now able to properly explain, right? I'm not being time conscious because again, I have maybe 40 minutes or 30 minutes in the classroom, which is not enough to answer everybody's question. It's not enough. And I said, no, this is hell for me. It's not going to work for me. So it's better I'm just, you know, kind of like the boss on my own, right? Just be independent so that I can help the students as much as I want without any form of restriction. Make sense? Okay. All right. So we're working towards the cow, computer aided learning. The YouTube is one of them where you can learn on your own. We have our own pre-designed codes that you can, whenever you're done learning, you can go with it and then we're working all that and all that. Okay. So another one is that users or students are able to move forward and backward through the course. And again, it records what? Learners what? Performance. And this is really it, really, right? And finally, we can add this is tailored to the user, tailored to the user or the student. And that's what YouTube is trying to work on right now. Macau, where there are now courses where students can now able to go to. See, there are times where I've been in the physical classroom. Some of my brightest students will be in class, but on my YouTube videos, right, or my personal courses, and they're learning from me online. And I said, so you can go ahead, teach the rest of the class. We understand you better here because in the physical class, you're rushing, you're trying to cover a lot of things, and someone keep learning. And that's why I knew that, okay, it's not working for me. Physical classroom is not for me. Uh, physical classroom is literally not for me. I just need to just go off and just do what I do so that they can learn comfortable in their own pace. So here am I, virtual. Okay. All right. Okay. So to the students who motivated me to do this, thank you. Okay. All right. So Tower is an online shopping company. So you see this in chapter 6. So this is ICT application, and then you have online banking and online shopping. Describe the characteristics of online shopping. So you go to Amazon, right? Temu. I don't like using that word Temu. It looks like it's scam too, but they said it's genuine. So anyway, I've not gone there. So right. So you buy things online, literally. You have the Apple Store, right? So you shop for things online. That's literally what online shopping is. So what are the characteristics of online shopping? What are those features that online shopping have that you look at also the physical shopping? So what are the key features of online shopping? Well, for an online shopping, it's online, it's open 24/7. Online shopping doesn't close. There's no closing. You don't close the website. So the website is closed. Right? Right? So um online stores, okay, are opened 247. They are assessed through a website. You don't go anywhere. It's through a website you access them. Okay. They access through a website. They use the online payment method. So these are just characteristics, right? And very important, it is easy, unlike your brick and mortar stores, easy to compare. Easy to compare what? Prices. So you can be comparing prices from different websites to know which is better. You can use reviews, right? Reviews to know about the product, about a product. For online shopping, characteristics of online shopping, they are what? Wild choice of goods that you can select from. Very important. You can shop from literally anywhere. Does this make sense? Okay, good. Are we learning? Okay. Of course, cow is chapter 6. I talked about cow, right? Cow is chapter 6. I talked about it. Okay. Let's look at this. Discuss the impact of using artificial intelligence in online shopping. Now, see, the world is now governed by AI. There's AI chatbots, everything is AI, 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 artificial intelligence. Now, we are now having AI online shopping to make your shopping experience to be easy. So with AI, now in shopping, is now able to now monitor your activities, monitor how you buy and how you spend. So next time you're going to the website, it's just showing you your price ranges. You'll be like, wow, oh, this is good. It's easy for me, right? So it helps to track that progress, right? It can also give customer a personalized service because it's always there. Anytime you need support, it's always there to, okay, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. Okay. Now we'll talk about discourse. You're looking at it at a more full scale. You're looking at the positive, you're looking at the negative. Okay. It can, if you're not careful, it can influence your spending because now it's now giving you those ranges. It's bringing all those price ranges that you can buy and you can afford, and you start buying things probably you don't even need. And if there are also discounts across those products, it will be the first to put on your way, and you start buying things you don't even need, right? One of the negative for me is the fact that it can lead to security issues. How? Your browsing histories. Remember, they are stored on the internet, and AI is getting everything to say, okay, oh, you went to this site, this is what you bought. This other platform can now use that as a leverage. Anytime you're going there, they just know what to do. Okay, so let's put what we have said into perspective. So let me begin with the positive. So with AI, it can what? It can learn and adapt. So it can learn and adapt to users' need. It can give customers a personalized service. It can also predict customers what? Purchasing what? Behavior. Let's talk about the negative. With negative, like I said, it can what? Influence purchases. It can track what? Customer what? Purchasing of items. And it can lead to security issues as the customer. Browsing history are stored on the internet. Okay. The next one. The use of computer can lead to many different health risks. So this we see as what? As chapter 5, right? Which is the effect of IT, but then we're looking at the prolonged use of IT equipment. Okay, which is the last part. For each of the following health issues, describe 3 ways of minimizing the risk. So we have the eye strain. Eye strain is where you are staying at the computer for a long period of time. So what way are we going to minimize? So we can use what? Use anti-glare screen. You can what? Change screen brightness to match what? The room brightness. Please do not sit. Currently, I don't take this advice, but please take it. Do not sit close, too close to the screen. I know what you're going to ask. Don't ask it. Don't ask the question. Don't ask, right? All right. I can see some students that's being raised up. So I have a question on this one. Okay. All right. And very important, have your eyes tested regularly. Okay. Back problem. The back problems are what? Your back and neck strain. So we'll see it here as what? Your back and what? Neck strain. So you can use what? Economic what? Economic chair. You can use what? A footrest. To what? To reduce posture problem. Use what? Tiltable screens. Raise to the correct height to ensure the neck is at the what? At the right angle. So we have this. A company uses the cloud to store data and software. Explain what is meant by what? By the term cloud. iCloud, Google Drive, OneDrive. So these are where data are stored remotely, and they are stored on remote servers. Okay, so we can see this as what? A network of remote servers. Examples of cloud storage are public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud. Okay, so data that's stored what? On remote server. Access to the cloud is via the internet. Describe the characteristics of the internet. Okay, internet means what? International what? Network. Now, when it comes to internet, what are the characteristics? It does not belong to what? It does not belong to anyone. Anyone can create or share resources on the internet. It gives access to the what? World Wide Web. It is what? A wide area network. It gives what? Access to a large amount of what? Resources. Anyone, okay? It can be accessed. This is the cloud. Can be accessed using what? An internet connection. It offers information 247. It is accessible to all. An employee in an organization has been working at home and has saved a file on his portable hard disk drive. Okay. He takes the portable hard disk drive into the office. Describe the process of safely uploading the file onto the organization network. Include your answer, any issue that may occur, and how they can be avoided. So let me just give you a picture of what he needs to do. Now, he has a portable hard disk drive. Remember what we talked about in chapter 3, storage devices and media, right? We see that under magnetic, we have magnetic tape, fixed hard disk drive, the fixed hard disk drive, and a portable hard disk drive. So he takes the hard disk drive, right? The first thing is to do, since he's been working at home and has saved the file on this, now he wants to go to the organization. He will need to log into the network first, right? Once he logs into the network, he now needs to what? Plug the, it all depends. You can plug it first and then log in, plug the portable hard disk drive onto the computer. Now, when you plug it, you scan the portable hard disk drive for viruses. Very important. Once it has been scanned, you select the files of what you want to upload. You copy the file and then you paste it into the computer. And then you can verify that the file has been correctly transferred. What are any issues that may occur? For example, if the HDD contains a virus, what will be the solution? During the scanning, the antivirus might detect that the files are corrupted and it would quarantine the files. If, for example, you notice that the files have not been uploaded, what does he need to do? He has to check to make sure it is uploaded to what? To the correct folder. So these are the various ways those issues can be fixed. So let's look at it. What we have explained, let's look at it, right? I didn't want to write it, but let me just write it. I've been told by a student to always write. So let me write. So the first thing is what? Log to the network. The employee should then what? Plug the portable HDD into the computer. The employee should scan the portable HDD for any form of what? Viruses. Then select the file, copy the file, and paste onto what? The computer. The employee should verify the files has been what? Correctly transferred. So if there are any issues, right? For example, if the portable HDD contains a virus, it should delete or quarantine the files. Okay. I also talked about the fact that we add it here. If the file cannot be found, check to make sure it is what? Uploaded to the correct folder. Okay, so let's go on. State one example of each of the following type of storage media. So we have optical. Now for optical, we have what? CD. Okay. I'm just going to give all CD, DVD, Blu-ray. So anyone you choose, just one, pick anyone. Those are the only three you have. For solid state, you have what? Pen drive or memory stick. You have your memory card. Okay, so you choose anyone, right? So your pen drive or your memory card. So whichever you want to choose. So of course, you know that when it comes to memory card, we have what? Three. We have the XD card, which is your secure digital card. We have what? Your extreme digital card. And then we have what? Your CFast card, which is what? Your compact fast card. So take note of that. So I guess with this, we're good. We're learning. Data within the organization needs to be protected. The organization follows the data protection legislation. Explain why data protection legislation is required. So we see this in chapter 9. Chapter 9, under your audiences, we have copyright legislation. So your data needs to be protected. So it follows that legislation. So explain why that data protection legislation is required. Now, why do we have to protect our data? Again, to protect the right of the individual. As simple as that. To protect what? The rights of the individual. And again, since data within the organization needs to be protected, we want to ensure that the individual data is used properly, right? So to ensure the individual data is used properly. That's all I can think of. Phishing can be a threat to the data stored on a computer system. Describe what is meant by phishing. What's phishing? Phishing is an email that is sent. Okay, it's an email that a legitimate email that is sent, right, with the sole purpose of getting your personal data, which can lead to identity theft. So an email is sent that includes a link, right, and user will have to click on the link, and it takes that person to a website where they have to put in their personal data. It can also ask you to just reply the email and send your right. You send your information. In fact, I've explained this extensively in the AS level because it is, in fact, it is in the AS. It is seen in chapter 7, e-security. For IGCSE, it is seen in chapter 8, safety and security. So your choice. Your choice. But there are videos on it. I've explained it extensively. For the AS, we went deep into it. Right? We went deep into it. Okay, so describe what is meant by the term phishing. So I'm going to start with this. The hacker, not hacker, the sender. It's not the hacker. Hacker would gain access. So the sender, this is the right word, the sender tries to trick the receiver into what? Revealing what? Personal data and information. The email from the sender may contain links to a fake website. The receiver clicks on the link and is directed to the what? To the fake website. Phishing is a form of what? Internet fraud. Okay, so you can see that it carries out an email that looks to be legitimate. So you can also add that there to be legitimate from an pretend to be for organization, but it's not. The sole purpose is to get your personal information. State 3 ways in which a user can attempt to prevent a phishing attack. I mean, this is very, very important. Well, the first one is please never send personal details in an email. Do not respond to emails from people you do not know. If the content of the email is too good to be true, it's too good to be true, then delete it. Please, by all means, report any phishing attempt, especially to your internet service provider. Do not click, very important. Don't click on links contained in possible phishing email. So always hover on that bit link or whatever short link they are sending, just to be sure. Very important. Just hover, just to be sure. A student is creating a web page using HTML. She has coded the head section. State the purpose of the head section. Include in your answer one element found in the head section. So let's do this. So this is idoc type. This is the one that is written in HTML. Then you have your HTML. Then you have your head section. Now under your head section, what are the title is there? Your style sheet link is there. Is the relationship your style sheet. Type is what? Text / CSS. Then you close it. What is also here? Your meta is also here. Maybe your name, author, then content. I am a Java ND. If you're wondering what my name is. And then what else? Normal styles can be here. External styles. Internal style can also be here. Your target frame can also be here. So I've given you everything that should be in your head section. Okay. I've given you everything that should be here in your head section. Okay. And then you close your head section. Okay. So what did they say? State the purpose of the head section. So let's talk about it. Contains information about what? About a web page property. It also contains what? Contains links to the external what? related what? Files. Then, okay. So they said include your answer one element found. So choose anyone. I've given you more than. So choose. So you can just choose title of the web page, one element. Title of the web page, or your meta tag, or your CSS code, right? Or your style sheet. So whichever I want to choose is your choice. I've given you enough. Are we good? So we have come to the end of this video. If you look at the across what we have been able to talk about, you see that this here is what? This is chapter 21, website authoring. Okay, so we looked at chapter 21. This is your chapter 8, right? Under your data threats, right? Safety and security. Then you look at it under your data threats. So we looked at chapter 8, chapter 9, your audiences. This is chapter 3, storage devices and media. Okay. You look at this is also chapter 3, right? You look at the internet. So for the internet, this is what? This is chapter 4, the cloud. Why this is what? Chapter 10, communications, right? Because of time, I wasn't okay. So this is chapter 4. You see networks and effects of using them, chapter 4. Okay. This is chapter 3, online shopping, chapter 6. With a little bit of AI, you look at it in chapter 1. And then we saw chapter 6, right? Chapter 6, chapter 1, um, chapter 1, chapter 2, mainly on chapter 6 and maybe chapter 7. Okay, chapter 1, chapter 7, right? Just to give you an idea of what you need to do, right, in ensuring that you are good to go in your theory paper, right? Just again, if you have not, for the IGCSE students or for the teachers, get a copy of the combo plan. It is a lifesaver for you. It has everything you need to get started, right, and to do exceedingly well as a teacher. This is especially for teachers, but students can also get it, right? And then you know for a fact that you're ready to get to that top level, especially for private candidates. You can also get this as well. And again, if you have not enrolled into our private classes, what are you waiting for? Right? For ICT, for math, for physics, chemistry, English, but every subject we have it all booked down. So send a message to the sales team, info@agiletech.com or agiletech@gmail.com and get yourself enrolled into our classes. Thank you very, very much. And again, I will be seeing you in our private classes, especially in ICT. For myself, ICT, ASIT. I can't wait to see you there. Bye for now.